Hi guys, my name is Vincent Couron. I'm a registered migration agent here at Aussizz. My MARA number is 1792547, and we've got Sudhe Jafari as well with us today to discuss some of the changes and major points of interest for you guys regarding the 491 and 494 visas, as well as we'll be touching on some of the recent changes, whether it is regarding student visas as well as the 187 visa or SMS. So without further ado, I'll just leave it and we'll take it from there.
Thank you, Vincent. As Vincent said, my name is Sudhe Jafari. I am a registered migration agent at Aussizz. My MAR number is 1795035. So please feel free to share this video and or tag your friends if you think it will help them. So today I'm going to cover the recent news. So as you know that the student visa changes has been affected so many students here. So the main change is India, Pakistan, Iran, and a few other has become level 3, assessment level 3. How it affects the student visa process is now that if they go to level 2 or 3 colleges, they need to show the financial documents. And after that, this change happened on 27th of September. But recently, another change happened, which is about the financial capacity of the students. So previously, you needed to show for the main applicant 20,290 for 1 year living cost, but now for the main applicant you need to show 21,041 cents. And followingly, for the secondary applicant, you used to need to show 7,100. Now you need to show $7,362, and for the child you need to show $3,152. So that's a significant change. So and this is only for the financial document. And also we would like to talk about the changes in 491 visa. So the hot topic today is that Gold Coast and Perth has become a regional area now. So now we can consider these two cities as a regional area. So it means all over Australia is regional now, except Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane. And this change will come into effect from 16 November 2019. So it means if you are studying in Perth or Gold Coast after 2 years, by studying there, completing your course there, and also living there, you can claim 5 points for a regional study. And also, you can get the benefit of having the 485 visa for 3 years. We all know now that after November, if you study in a regional area, you can get 1 more year extra for 485 visa currently. So there is no difference if you are studying in a regional area or designated area. But after 16 November, you will get additional 1 year in your 485 visa.
Correct, yeah. So I'll just tap upon to that. Like Sudhe mentioned, regarding the 485 visa, this is still going to be essentially a 2-year visa, and you will have the opportunity to extend for an additional year by the time this visa would be expiring. It is worth mentioning that students who will be able to avail from this benefit, especially for those who will be studying in Perth or Gold Coast, this will be from November 2021. So essentially, any student will be starting their 2-year studies from November 2019. There is one more thing which I would like to add in relation to the 491 visa. There was also an announcement on Saturday where the minister has announced that there will be an increase in the number of seats, for the 491 and 494 visas from 23,000 to 25,000. So essentially, it's good to know that the 23,000 are not solely for 491 visas. They were essentially divided, if I'm not mistaken, 9,000 for 494 and 7,000 for 494 and 16,000 for the 491. So essentially, we're getting 2,000 seats more. I would assume it will be fairly distributed, 1,000 for each subclass. There is one of big news that we've come to know today is that regarding the Medicare eligibility, holders of 491 and the 494 visas would be eligible for Medicare, which was not the case for the holding a provisional visa. You will still be entitled to the Medicare. So I'm not sure if, because I think we've had some major technical glitch here. I'll just cover what I just mentioned seconds ago regarding the Medicare eligibility. It is worth mentioning that under the 489 visa, a holder of a 489 visa was not eligible for the Medicare, which means that should you want to, as a holder, to hold a health insurance, you would have to purchase your own health insurance and you would not be covered and wouldn't be having any benefit from the government. Whereas on the 491 visa and 494, one would be eligible to apply for the Medicare and eventually be covered. As well as for the 491 visa. So for those of you who don't know the 491 visa, let's just touch base on this as well. I would assume this is the talk of the time, but let's just cover some of the bases for those of you who don't know. So essentially the 491 visa, which will be known as the Skilled Work Regional, right, which is a provisional visa, would be a provisional visa for 5 years, compared to the current Skilled Regional Provisional 489 visa, which is a 4-year visa. The major difference as well is that the 489 visa leads to the permanent residence under the 887 visa, which is after someone who has held the 489 visa for at least 2 years and lived in the regional area or designated area for at least 1 year would be eligible for the 887. So obviously I won't be discussing too much because this is just about to stop in 18 days or so. Under the 491 visa, good to know that the department will be extending the stay from 4 years to 5 years, but also that the transition from the 491 to the permanent visa, which is going to be 191, would be a bit longer and more complex. What I mean by this is that, first of all, out of these 5 years, you would be eligible for the 191 visa only after living and working in the regional area for at least 3 years. Good to know that you have to be working at least working full-time, and though it is not clearly announced, I mean, it is available on the immigration website for sure, but there will be a minimum salary threshold, which is 53,900. Again, just to reiterate, so what would be available, what are the regions that would be available for the 491 visa would be virtually Australia-wide, except Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. It used to be Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth and Gold Coast, but as Sudhir mentioned earlier, Perth and Gold Coast will be part of regional from the 16th November. Would you like to add something else regarding the 491? Sudhir?
Yeah, sorry. There is another good news that about 491 visa. So far, ACT Canberra, it had only sponsored applicants for 190 visa, but they have announced that soon they will be open for 491 visa as well. So they haven't announced the details and the requirement, but they have already mentioned that it's gonna be 491 visa, most probably from January 2020. So then it's another option for you guys, like because Canberra now, even for 190, they are sponsoring and inviting people with 60 points only. So it can be a very good option for so many people, like to opt for Canberra, and in future you may have 491 visa option as well. And yeah, so Vincent, let's talk about the Western Australia changes, which happened just recently.
That was last week.
Yeah, just last week. So Western Australia, the big news is that so far those international students in Western Australia can only be considered graduate there for the graduate stream if they have studied higher education. It means bachelor's or master's. But from December, they give this opportunity to those international students who study VET courses or even ELI course. It means even if you study English ELI course and a VET course, excluding trade occupations, then you can be eligible to apply for Western Australia nomination for 190, which is a big change. And also they made it easier for graduate in Western Australia. Currently, if you want to be a sponsor for 190, you need to, apart from being a graduate there, you need to have 1 year work experience already, and also you need to have a 1 year job offer letter as well. So which is not easy for so many people to meet this requirement, but they are making it easier from December. So the 1 year work experience won't be required anymore. You only need to have to work there 6 months, or even if you have a job offer only for the next 6 months, they will accept it. So as you can see, it's gonna be much easier to apply through Western Australia. Anyway, so Perth is becoming a regional area. You will get 5 points for that, and also if you study a diploma course there, you can get your 190 from Western Australia. So Western Australia can be a destination for so many of the students to study and easily obtain their PR after graduation.
Yeah, which is an add on to that as well, because as you might know, universities in Western Australia are located in Perth, so it makes sense that this is going to be of a big benefit for many students, and also to attract students, so that obviously they will be coming to Perth and studying. To add on, so there has been discussing a bit about the 491 and 190. Just coming back to the 491, it is good to know that most of the states at this stage have not yet published their requirements. What we know, as just for some housekeeping, the 491 visa obviously is under the general scale migration, which means that an applicant needs to have, amongst others, are we still live? Yeah. Sure. Amongst others, since this is a general skill visa, you will need to have, as an applicant, at least competent English, which is 6 a full skill assessment, not a provisional skill assessment, as well as at least 65 points. Good. So good to know that under the 489 visas, as we know what were the requirement for most of the states like Tasmania and Northern Territory. Unfortunately, most of the states haven't published their requirements yet, like Tasmania, even ACT who have clearly mentioned on their website that the requirements will be available soon. So if we have a couple of questions today about the 491, we might not be able to entertain them, or what we'll be answering essentially is based on the knowledge we already have for the 489. For instance, what we know at this stage is that in Tasmania, as a graduate, or if you had studied a course registered for 1 year, you could get the 489 visa. So we assume that since the 491 is going to supersede the 489, it is a logical assumption that there would be the same requirements. But obviously, until it is clearly announced on each state or website, official website, it is just an assumption. Needless to say as well, until we get these requirements. Even though if the requirements are going to change, I don't think it's going to be a 360-degree turn. There might be some more requirements, but I don't think it's going to change. They're going to reinvent the wheel, right? The point I'm trying to make here is that if you get the opportunity, it is worth considering going to Tasmania. I will share one of the stories of, obviously without mentioning any name of a client which I met yesterday. So essentially, I met a client yesterday who is 43 years old at the moment. He is turning 44 in December, and obviously he's from accounting background. Hasn't done much in terms of his PR option. He hasn't been, shopping around. I happen to be the only migration agent he has seen since he came to Australia, apart from those who have done his student visas, obviously. So I advise him that we might be a bit short of time, but if he's lucky that the requirements for the 491 visa are still the same as the 489, I suggested him to go, to go to Tasmania and study for 1 year. And if he has enough time, by the time he completes 1 year of studies next year around end of October, early November, he might have enough time, hopefully, to be eligible and obviously to apply and avail the nomination. So the point here is that if you have completed your studies, you are about to apply for a 485, would you just apply or it was just granted? Don't wait too long, right? Don't wait too much. Make up your mind, make a decision, and consider, relocating to Tasmania. I understand that the requirements are not crystal clear at this stage, but at least start exploring options. Start, arranging your move, like finding out accommodation options as well as employment options. So before we move to the 494 visa, is there anything else you would like to add on the 491 today? And then we'll proceed to answering some of the questions.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered all the points for 491 visa. But so it's good to know that you only need 50 points to apply for 491 visa. Previously for 489, you needed minimum 55 points by yourself. But for 491, only you need 50 points. You get 15 points from the sponsoring state or family. It means, so if you are single applicant and you have only 40 points, after November, like you get 10 points as well. So you will be eligible to apply for 491 visa if you meet the additional requirement for a state. And also, so 491 has two category, right? So state sponsorship and family sponsorship. For family sponsorship, those applicants who they are nominated occupation is in medium and long-term list, and they have a family, like blood relation family here, like in Australia, who are living in a regional postcode, they are eligible to apply for 491 family stream, so from 16 November. Yeah, so that might be a good news for those applicants who have a family in Australia. It can be your uncle, your first cousin, brother, grandparents, and obviously your immediate family. Yeah.
So just to summarize, just in case it wasn't clear, the minimum points required for the 190 is 60 points because the state gives 5 points. The minimum points required as an individual applicant would be 50 instead of 55 currently for the 489 visa. Why? Because the number of points allocated by the state or the sponsoring relative would be jumping from 10 to 15 points. Right. So we'll just be touching like visa now before answering your question. I can see there are a couple of them already. So it's good to know that what's the 494 visa essentially. 494 compared to the 491 is not a visa you can apply independently. The 494, also known as the Skill Employer Sponsored Regional, is also a provisional visa like the 491, and essentially a 5-year visa as well. Like I mentioned seconds ago, this is an employer sponsor, like the name suggests, which means that you need to be sponsored by an employer in order to get that visa. Here, different story. Unlike the 491 visa, there is no points requirement. There is still an English requirement, and obviously to have and other requirements amongst others that an applicant would be expected to meet. And this amongst others are having good command of English, which means having 6H in English, competent English, at least 3 years of full-time experience in your occupation, right? Which means that, let's say, for instance, should you be applying for the 494 visa from the 16th November as a chef, you would need to demonstrate that you've got 3 years of full-time experience as a chef before you apply. There will also be a requirement for the skill assessment, which is similar, obviously, to the 491 visa. Good to know one thing, the 494 visa is coming in effect from the 16th November, and it is going to actually replace another visa, which is the 187. But compared to the 491, which is actually replacing another temporary visa, the 494 here is going to replace a permanent visa, which is RSMS, the 187. So, amongst others, the requirements for RSMS is, again, to have competent English, 6H, to have 3 years of full-time experience in the trade, and an optional skill assessment. Why optional? Because if you have, let's say, the qualifications were undertaken in Australia, and some of the combinations, such as if the experience was the experience was undertaken in Australia, you might not have to provide a skill assessment. And also why it is optional, because it is not required for all the occupations, but most of the trade occupation. So essentially occupations are Trade Recognition Australia, the TRA, and some occupation assessed by VET. So in other words, if you think you meet the requirements for the 187, and if you have an employer who is located in the regional who would like to sponsor you, you might still be able to avail it, because we just have less than 3 weeks, but we still have roughly 18 days. So we will now proceed to answer some of your questions that you have posted on Facebook here, and we will do our best to answer all of them.
Before we start, I just briefly explain about the waiting period for pro rata and non-pro rata occupations, because I'm sure this is your questions as well. So we for non-pro rata occupations, so on the last invitation round in October, so we got invitation with 80 points, and the date of the effect of the EOI was May 2019. So, and also this is for all non-pro rata occupations, and accountants, they got invitation with 90 points, and for engineers, like electronic engineers, they got invitation with 80 points with the date of the effect of May 2019. And for IT, like software engineer and network engineer, they got invitation with 80 points with the date of the effect of December 2018. So I hope I have already answered your questions about the waiting period for getting the invitation. Now we move to your questions.
Yes, so let's start with. So we've answered Nana. Salman Sabir mentioned, what about the ones already completed their studies from Melbourne? So I assume you were talking about the 491 visa. Again, as you might know, Salman, I mean, it is not yet defined and out at this stage. Depending on the occupations, you might be aware already that Victoria does not sponsor many occupations. They essentially have got two lists, one list of graduates and the other one for skilled workers. Essentially, I doubt there will be major changes in the occupations. There might be, just some requirements or new changes, or essentially it might remain the same, which means that if you have the number of years of experience, you have obviously the skill assessment and a job offer letter from an employer which is based in regional, you might avail the 491 visa. So we have a question from Shyam Patel, right? With customer service manager occupation coming for 491. If I'm not mistaken, let me just quickly check that. I'm pretty sure. What we'll do essentially will be responding to some of the questions we were not able to respond now. Like for instance, for Shyam, we'll be responding later. Let's just respond.
Yeah, some of the questions is asking about the 494 list or 491 list. So this information we don't know yet. So they haven't published the list for 494 yet.
Yeah, essentially because it might be the same, as the 187 for the 494 and the 489 when it is to the 491. But until this is out, we won't be able to clearly state anything about this.
Okay, let's answer Tahmin's question. Thanks, Tahmin, for your question. She is asking, my husband recently got a job at Adelaide and we moved here for 2 weeks. We want to lodge EOI for Adelaide State Nomination 190. Can we do it now or we have to stay 6 months here, then we can submit EOI? So, if you haven't already lived there 6 months, one of the South Australia requirements is that you need to live and work 6 months there. So in your nominated occupation. So if it's not 6 months yet, so therefore you won't be eligible to apply for 190 South Australia. So the answer is no. You need to wait till he completes 6 months of part-time work experience there.
So Go Japan, Ko was mentioning, I'm doing MPA. Should I move to regional area for future? Yes, I would definitely recommend that you consider moving. My answer is based on the fact, because it is unclear, I'm not sure how far you are in the MPA, whether just in the beginning or you're about to graduate. But regardless, even if you're about to graduate, which means you will be most likely getting the 485 visa, the temporary graduate visa, so it would be worth relocating to another state so that you can meet the requirements and apply eventually. Vishnu is asking any experience needed for 491. So like I mentioned earlier, Vishnu, essentially if the list remains the same for Victoria and the requirements remain the same, based on the occupation, yes, there would be a mandatory work experience requirement ranging from 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, it depends on the occupations.
Yeah. So Shafil has also an interesting question. I've completed my bachelor in computer engineering from overseas and I'm about to finish my MBA by the end of December. What is the best option for me? So Shafil, if you have work experience related to your field for at least 2 years related to computer engineering, which can be software engineering or based on the subjects you've done, any occupation which most likely would be analyst programmer, software engineer, developer programmer, maybe business analyst, security specialist or computer network and system engineer. If you've been working for at least 2 years, you might be eligible to assess your degree and meet the requirements of the Department of Home Affairs from there. In other words, which means that once you meet those requirements, you might consider relocating if you don't have enough points to avail the 491 visa or 190 visa.
Next question is Krishna Dev is asking about how about 491 in New South Wales. So New South Wales, so the requirement for 491 as similar to other states is not published yet, but the rest of the requirement for 491 applies to 491 in New South Wales as well. But different regions in New South Wales may have additional requirements which you need to fulfill that in order to get the state nomination for 491 visa. So we just need to wait till 16 November to find about the different lists and different additional requirements for every region in New South Wales.
So Satinder is asking, currently have 80 points with 2 skill assessment in business analyst and security specialist. Any chances of securing 189 in Victoria? So regardless, the 189 is regardless of the of your physical location or state you are at the moment. With 80 points, look, Satinder, if the department starts inviting, like we assume they did on the 11th of October, around 1,000 or plus, issuing 1,000 or plus invitations per month, it is fair to assume that yes, you would be invited with 80 points. What I would suggest is let's wait and see how what is the pattern from the next invitation run after those changes, which is essentially, let's say, from the 11th of December. It makes sense that Saturday, if you are single, you would be getting 10 more points, which means you would be in a favorable position to be invited, because this actually means that you will be getting the maximum of points compared to other people, which means either 0, 5 or 10, as you might know.
Okay. So the next question is James. James is asking, can my friend apply before she does her PY in IT? So it depends. So if your friend has already got a positive skill assessment outcome, she doing the professional year is not necessary, mandatory. So unless she doesn't have any assessment, she need, because if you are graduate here, like to assess your master or bachelor's in Australia, you need either to complete the professional year program, or you need to have 1 year post qualification, minimum 20 hours per week work experience. So if you don't do a professional year, you cannot get the skill assessment, therefore you cannot apply for PR.
So there's a question here from Louis Young. Is Perth and Gold Coast eligible for family sponsor? So essentially, under the 491 relative, the sponsor, which has to be your blood relative, needs to be living in the regional area before they sponsor you. Right? So considering that Perth and Gold Coast would be part of this from the 16th November, it would make sense that this would be available. So I've already responded to Nana. So again, Sayo is asking about with 80 points engineering technologies. So at this stage, it's better to just wait, a couple, either to get some more like official results from the department regarding the 11th October invitation round.
Yeah, I have already answered James.
For James, yeah.
As well.
So Parvinder is asking, I'm doing my enroll nurse. Do you think it will help me with PR staying in Brisbane or Gold Coast? So it makes sense here, Parvinder, but if you are doing enroll nurse, like you're doing your course in enroll nurse, it is better to consider Gold Coast rather than Brisbane. The main reason being that enroll nurse is on the short-term list, and it would be obviously best because occupations under the which fall into the short-term list means that you will be eligible for the 190 visa and the 491 skilled provisional regional. But regardless as well, if you were to ask, okay, whether it is better to remain in Brisbane or Gold Coast, good to know that since Brisbane is not going to be part of regional areas, right? Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane will still not be regional. It means that virtually you would have an additional option if you study or if you become an enrolled nurse in regional, which is the fact that you will get not only the 190 visa, but you might also get the 491. So you will have two options instead of one.
So okay.
Someone was asking about the requirements for 491. So
yeah,
essentially we already answered that. So that's Silver
Oni Bachi is asking, if you move to Perth, will it be considered regional?
Yeah.
Yes, as we spoke about this earlier, Perth is going to be considered regional from 16 November 2019. So if you complete your study there 2 years and live there at the same time in a regional postcode 2 years, then you can get the regional point and apply for Western Australia nomination.
So Ahmed is stating, hi, I graduated from, has essentially completed biomedical science. He's got a skill assessment from Aussizz, but the requirement is I need to have 1 year. And I don't know what to do. So I would assume, I mean, this is a bit unclear, I'm not sure. Because Ahmed, if you already have a skill assessment, obviously I would assume you have points. Considering that Tasmania was sponsoring all occupations on the ST as well, and if the requirements for the 491 in Tasmania would be the same, you can simply study for 1 year in Tasmania and then get the 491 visa. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, I guess the next question we have already answered about the Medicare.
Yeah, Medicare we've answered. So Damanpreet was asking about the requirements for the 491. Again, at this stage, we're only confident and we know about the requirements as far as the department requirements are concerned. When it comes to specific state, we will have to wait, unfortunately, as they have not been publishing so up to now, which actually they should have done a long time ago.
Yes, Damanpreet, accountants can apply for 491 visa as well if they meet the requirement, like there is no different state requirement, or even family number 491 for family category.
So Gujat, I think that will be the last question. Gujat is asking, I have a positive skill assessment as analyst program and is currently sitting at 60 points. Whether you are eligible for the 491 visa. So on the papers, obviously you're eligible since you have at least 50 points. What we will need to look into now, Gujat, would be to wait so that we know what are the requirements for each and every state. Based on this, we'll be in a better position to advise. But again, if I just, based on the assumption, right, that let's say the 491 replicates the same requirements as the 489, if you work in a skilled occupation for 6 months in Tasmania, or if you study a one-year registered course, crack course registered course, you would be eligible for the 491 as you already have the points and the skill assessment.
So something I need to clarify is because this question will be asked a lot from my clients. So you won't be eligible to apply for 491 visa only simply by living in a regional area. So living in regional area is good. It will give you 5 points for regional, studying in regional, but it doesn't eligible you for 491 visa unless you meet the state requirement. For example, if you live in a regional area in G-Line, you won't be eligible for 491 visa unless you move to the regional area in the states that to meet the state requirement. So the answer is unfortunately no. So if by studying in the regional area, you get the benefit of getting 5 points, and also from November you will get the benefit of having 3 years 485 visa.
So that sums up pretty much today's session, guys. We're unfortunately not able to entertain all the questions, but rest assured we'll be replying to them individually within the coming hours. If you have any other questions, feel free to post the questions here. And until then, thank you for joining and listening to us today.
Yeah, thank you. Feel free to send us a message or call us on our landline. We will put our number on the comment, or you can just come to Collins Street to visit us here. Thank you for watching us.
Thank you, guys.